Welcome to Wednesday Web Chat. This is Carl Lewis, your host here today, and we're going to be talking about iDocuments. And my guest is going to be Duncan Wyeth, who's our partner manager at Vision 33, knows a great deal about iDocuments, and will do a little demo for us. First, we're just going to go through some introduction slides about what iDocuments is, right? So just a little bit about the industry first, and the statistics around AP invoicing. The average cost, you may not know this, the average cost to process an AP invoice is between about $8.30 and ranging from $4.79 to as much as $11.77. So that average of $8.30 is kind of right in the middle. It'd be interesting for you to discover where you fall in that range. About 3.6% of invoices include errors that are basically caused by humans, manual data entry. And these problematic invoices can cost businesses upwards of $20 per transaction to process. So it's interesting that the fixing of an invoice costs more than the processing of an invoice itself. So that's where the real problem lies. Now, a survey conducted on businesses that process a total of about 350,000 invoices a year between them noted that AP exceptions on their invoices represented about 32% of all late payments and 36% of all supplier-related service phone calls. So invoices with errors generate a lot of additional work. What's the real cost of manual data processing? Again, based on industry surveys conducted by AP associations, things like time constraints. Paper-based invoices require a lot of time, and they're error-prone because of manual data entry. They have process delays that result in late payments and additional costs. The process inefficiencies of a manual manner in which to do it create late payment charges resulting from late invoice payments to suppliers. AP inefficiencies cause significant problems elsewhere in a business also, adding to the processing costs, like inventory that doesn't arrive on time because our AP processes are inefficient. Supply chain communications. Regular phone calls from suppliers are always asking you to chase down payments, right? So you've got people answering the phone to deal with these things because of inefficiencies. Customer service issues resulting from the inability to provide immediate answers about account details. If you're sourcing something from one of your suppliers so that you can sell it to your customers could be held up because of inefficiencies also. What is iDocuments exactly? Well, iDocuments is browser-based. It's a solution that frees up your team from manual, tedious tasks and allows your business to focus on innovation and growth. It integrates with your existing ERP solution, eliminating the duplication of data, and it extends the reach of your ERP solution to your entire team, and it doesn't require additional ERP licenses. It's used today by hundreds of enterprises who want to focus on customer service quality, save time and money, improve efficiency and compliance, eliminate data entry errors, and reduce their AP costs. What are some of the big benefits? Well, it reduces time to invoice approval. It enables businesses to negotiate early payment discounts, basically, from their suppliers, which saves money. It drives down the cost to process invoices, generating immediate savings. I automate it. I need fewer people to do the data entry. It reduces the hidden administration costs of dealing with supplier queries. It seems like it's hidden, but when you've got people that are answering the phone all day to answer questions about payments, that's a big savings, and you can put those people elsewhere in the business to do other chores. It increases administrative efficiencies by removing filing and retrieving of paper invoices. No more paper. Keep the paper out of the office, put everything into the ERP system where it belongs. And it reduces the need for costly manual processes through process automation, as we'll see in Duncan's little demo in just a little bit. And you can begin your whole digital transformation journey and become far more resilient in your business by using this sort of an automation tool. So there's really three parts to iDocuments. Today, Duncan's demonstration is going to focus on purchasing, which is really a business-ready, fast-to-deploy solution that automates the purchase-to-pay process. And it helps to reduce errors, save time, and increase control and visibility. There is also an expense management capability in iDocuments. And with expense management and with the sales process we'll talk about, if you're interested in either of those, please be sure to contact us because we can show you those at another time. An easy-to-use web-based and mobile expense management solution that really enables expense claims to be created, submitted, stored, reviewed, approved, and audited online. So no matter where the approver is, no matter where the creator of an expense is, they have access to this system. And as I mentioned, sales order automation. So if you receive sales orders in email format by an attachment or something of that nature, this will capture that emailed order and process it without any manual data entry. It saves time, it reduces errors, and you can have your sales team actually focus on more important customer service details than data entry. So that's just a brief introduction to iDocuments. I'm going to try to stop sharing now and have my colleague Duncan. Duncan, welcome to Wednesday Web Chat. Always good to see you, my friend. And have Duncan take over the controls and give us just a little demo.
Thank you, Carl. Hopefully you can now see my screen.
Yes.
This is the iDocuments login screen. So as Carl said, I'm just going to take you through some of the features and functions in iDocuments that will help reduce the time and effort that you spend in processing AP invoices. Let's face it, keying data into a system is redundant time, so let's reduce that as much as possible. And also some of the features we have within the purchasing side of the system to help you get more control over your procurement. Beside the employee-related costs, salaries and staff costs, the next biggest cost to any business is the things they buy as both overheads and stock or items for resale or manufacturing purchases. And getting control of those costs is really, really important, and you can do that through a strong and robust procurement system like iDocuments. Login to iDocuments is via a web browser. Any browser will do. Sign in with a username and a password. We can use two-factor authentication if you wish. I haven't got that set up on here. It wouldn't work in a demonstration, but two-factor authentication exists if you need. Users are then presented with a dashboard. You can drag and drop the tiles around on your dashboard. You can set the dashboard to look as you want it to look, hit the save button, and when you save that, it will keep that layout for you every time you log in, or you can hit reset and it will take you back to the factory default for the system. It's multi-company. You can see if I change to demo company 2, the data here will change. And if I go back to demo company 1, I'm presented with my data. Unlike SAP Business One, where you have to log out, log back in again to change your company, or at least enter your user credentials, users in iDocuments are assigned access to one or more companies within the system. And each of those companies synchronizes to an underlying data set within your ERP system, in this case, Business One. And then finally, under the username here, there's a couple of things I can do, but because Business One is all about workflows and approvals, we can set up a proxy user. So if I'm out the office, I can assign Carl as my proxy, and then Carl logs in. He logs in as me, and he gets all of my work. He sees all of my approvals, all of my documents, and he processes those, and the system records the fact that it was done by Carl acting as my proxy. So if Carl decides to have a bit of fun and start approving things that he shouldn't approve when he's acting as my proxy, at least we know he did it and not me. So if I start by looking at a purchase order, in iDocuments, we can create purchase orders, and we can go above and beyond the functionality you've got in Business One. I believe everybody attending this webinar today is actually a Business One user, so we'll talk about that a bit, but most of this relates to any ERP system you connect to. First difference is when we look at orders, we've got service item, item no quantity, and service with no quantity. So in this case, if I raise a service order, I can put the quantity against it, which is different to SAP Business One, where you just have a GL account and a value. And I can also enter an item-based order without a quantity, which might be used for particularly buying services against an item code, if that's the way I want to set my Business One system up. You'll also notice I've got here a group, and the group will apply some filtering to the system. So the first thing I'm going to do here is change this from service to item, and you'll see that it's running a little filter. That swirly button there is telling me it's running a filter in the background, and it's actually filtering two things. First thing it's filtering is the item codes that the group admin can work with. It's also filtering the supplier codes. So I'm going to pick the supplier CTI Computers, Let's choose CTI computers. And again, it's filtering the data. It's saying, right, now we've got the item, we've got CTI computers. I've got the group admin. What items can I work with? And if you see here, if I click on this button, I have a list of all sorts of items I can choose from. Now, if I change that and change this group to IT, when I change the group to IT, it will change the items that are available to me as a member of that group. So I've now got control over the items that I can purchase. You see, this item list starts with A001. If you're familiar with Business One demo data, that's the first item in the list, and I can choose that item. Now, another point to note here is that it tells me who the approver is on this transaction. So for the demonstration, I'm actually set up as the approver, but I can also have multiple approvers set up at different levels of a workflow. So a purchase order up to $1,000 would go to one person for approval. They approve it. If it's over $1,000 below 10,000, it will go to the next person, and so on. I'm not going to go into the way the workflows work here, but you'll see we can have different workflows set up for different documents and different groups, and it's all driven by this group here. So I've got my item on there. I can enter a warehouse, I can enter a description, I can put in a delivery date, I can enter a quantity. The unit price is pulled through from SAP. In this case, I'm going to buy 2. And these fields over here are my dimension codes from Business One. You'll notice this one is defaulted based on the group. The region, this dimension here, I've only got 3 to choose from. My underlying SAP system has got lots more set up in there. And then my project code here, again, I'm filtering my projects based on the group. So these are standard SAP fields. We could also incorporate user-defined fields on the line and on the header should we choose to. So I've got my line there with a quantity of 2. I now want to copy that line. So I'm going to select the tick box here and copy it. And it's going to create another line with exactly the same information on. And for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to do it twice to show you how quickly I can create a purchase order in here. So I'm going to take that same line, I'm going to copy it. I could copy multiple lines, so I could have created a 4-line transaction from here. And we've got some new functionality coming down the line to create orders and store them as your favorite. So I've got a 3-line order here. I'm simply going to choose A002 and in this case A003. So I've got 3 lines, I've got a quantity of 2 against each one. And you'll see down the bottom, I've got my subtotals, my sales tax. Apologies, I'm from this side of the pond, so I'm using VAT, but all the data's there and I can submit that document for approval. Now, worth pointing out a couple of things here. I could approve it because I have an approval limit. I'm going to show you the approval slightly differently. I can also base my orders on requisitions. So if you don't want to give users the ability to raise an order, you can give them requisitions. They can raise a requisition and I can convert that requisition to an order. I'm going to submit this and I'm now going to pull a fast one on Carl. I'm going to do something that I haven't done before in a Wednesday web chat with Carl, but I'm actually going to try and approve this via my mobile device. So you can see now I have a document, it's got today's date on it, it's submitted and the approver is me. So I know exactly where that is in the process. I don't have an order number yet. You'll see why in a second. Now, if I can make this work, Carl, I do apologise for doing this to you without telling you I'm going to do it, but
no
let's
worries.
do wireless projection and it will find my, there we go, here we go, look at this. We're going to project onto here. So this is my mobile device. That document's gone out. I've received a notification telling me that I need to approve it. I'm going to log into iDocuments on my mobile. It requires a PIN, which is set when you connect your mobile to the system. And you can see I've got my documents to approve here. And if I just hit the refresh button, it's going to download a purchase order. That's the purchase order that I've just created. And I can view all the details on that. I can view the document details. I can see the individual lines, drill into those individual lines and seal the information. And then from my mobile device, all I need to do, sorry, fat finger syndrome, all I need to do here is approve that document. You can see it's been approved with a little tick at the bottom there. Hit the upload button. And if I now stop projecting and go back to, come on, take me back. So if I refresh this screen now, we'll see that the document that was submitted is now approved, still doesn't have a purchase order number. Why? Well, I've also got SAP Business One running in the background, and I'm just going to refresh my transactions to Business One. And what that'll do, this runs on the iDocument system at regular intervals, and that's going to go away. It's going to take the data from iDocument, send it to SAP, get the order number from SAP, and send that order back to iDocuments. So if we go and look at the order in SAP, so my purchase order in SAP is this one, 1139. Look at the relationship map. Let's just park that a second. Look at the relationship map. It is just a purchase order on its own. And if I go back to iDocuments and refresh this now, you'll see we've got order number 1139. At that point, the user is notified that your purchase order has been approved. They can then come in here, tick that box and say issue. For the purpose of the demonstration, it won't actually send the email because I would be sending hundreds of emails a day if I did that. But it's pulling this data from the SAP Business One contacts on the business partner. I could key in an email address in here if I chose to. I can click OK, and it will send the document via email as a PDF. And the default layout for that, if I go to the preview function here, you'll see that we generate the purchase order, and that purchase order goes as a PDF document attached to the email off to the supplier to send us the goods. Once it's issued and the goods arrive from the supplier, just as you can with SAP, tick the box and say copy to GRN. Now, just to show you how complex we can get with iDocuments, I'm going to do this twice. So the first time I do it, I'm going to remove that line from the GRN because they only delivered 2 lines on this GRN. I could edit the quantities on a line, I can edit the price on a line, but once I've receipted that, I can hit issue, and I'll go back to the purchase order screen, and this will take me to my GRN screen, but I'll go back to view purchase orders, and I'll take that last purchase order. You can see here, I can see the base amount, I can see the GRN amount, I can see the invoiced amount. This is highlighted in orange because it's past its due date. The due date on that purchase order was today. We haven't received the goods. It was due today. We haven't got them, so it's showing as past due. And I can see the full GRN amount. I'm now going to copy that to the GRN. And this time it will just give me that one line that's left open on the document. So I've got the one line, and I'll issue that line. No approvals needed on a GRN. You don't need to approve a GRN. You just need to say, I've got the goods or services. We can receipt services in the same way that we receipt items, which is a useful function in iDocuments, or you can set it up that you don't receipt services, which is why these purchase orders, which are for services, have actually got a tick there to say closed for GRN. Okay, so now if I go back to my SAP server, and I'm just going to rerun, you can see that was my relationship map. I'm just going to rerun that transaction sync. And when that runs, it's now going to take the GRN data from iDocuments and bring that into SAP Business One. So I've now got receipted purchase orders in B1. And if I look at the relationship map now, now you can see I've got 2 purchase orders. Sorry, 1 purchase order, 2 GRPOs. And if I go to iDocuments, you'll see I've got my full GRN amount there. And if I look at the order in SAP, sorry, in iDocuments, if I actually pull up the order in iDocuments, you'll see that we've got the GRPOs associated with it here. The GRNs have been processed as well. Okay, so we've done all of that in iDocuments. Everything's fine. The goods have been receipted. The suppliers then have a nasty habit of sending us an invoice, which would indicate we need to pay for the goods and services that we bought. So I'm going to pull up an invoice here and put the order number on it of 1139. That was the order we did. This remarkably fits nicely with all of the data that's on that purchase order and GRPO, but I'm going to save that document as a PDF. So CTI invoice 1139 and save as PDF. just to prove we're doing this live. So I'm going to save that as a PDF and close all tabs. And I'm now going to upload that into iDocuments. Now, what would normally happen in a live environment is those transactions would come to you via an email as an email attachment. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm just going to upload one manually. So if I could get to the right place, it would help. Let's go to upload the file manually. So I can select and sample demo invoices, CTI 1139. Now, that is a purchase invoice. You can see we've also got the option here for a sales order, but I'll do this as a purchase invoice and upload it. And while I'm at it, I'm going to grab another file and upload a different one, which is this one, ABC. And that's purchase invoice, and I'll show you that in a second and upload that. Now, what's happening in the background, the iDocuments intelligent data capturing engine runs at regular intervals. It interrogates your inbox in your emails. It takes any unopened emails, extracts the attachments, and processes the PDF documents, and does two things. Firstly, it identifies the supplier. Then it looks for the purchase order number. If it finds the purchase order number, it looks for open GRPOs. And if it finds the open GRPOs, it pulls those lines through to the invoice and matches the invoice to the open GRPOs. If it doesn't find an open purchase order, it will read the lines on the document and automatically create a document with those lines on without any associated purchase order. So if I now go to my dashboard, we should see on my dashboard I've got purchase invoice scans 2. That's the 2 I've just done. I'm going to take the first one of these, which is CTI Computers. You see we've got the order number, we've got the first GRN number. I can open that up. It's going to present me with the invoice as a PDF document on the right-hand side of the screen, actually rendered in the screen. It's got the line details that it's pulled through down here. And all I need to do to process that purchase invoice, no keyboard required, just hit submit. When I submit that document, because it has a 3-way match, it will post to SAP. Okay, so that one's gone through to SAP. Go back to my dashboard, and I have another invoice here. And I just want to very briefly show you this. I'm conscious of the time, but this particular one, I processed this one at the same time as I processed the CTI Computers one. And this document has come through into iDocuments. We've got 2 lines on here. Both of those lines are for services. It's identified that this is a service-based document. It's pulled that document data through, and it's actually created a document here with all the lines. These are coded to the relevant GL accounts using AI and machine learning. I can edit these lines as I see fit. If I wanted to change anything on this document, all I need to do is select these lines, pick these fields, click the Save from Grid button. Once I've saved from Grid, then I can hit Submit. And when I submit this document, it will actually go into a workflow to be approved. I'm going to hit Submit. That's going to sit in the system on an approval workflow. And now if I look at my invoices, when you view your purchase invoices, one of the great things about iDocuments is from here, I can see where everything is in the system. So I can see that this document has been approved, but it hasn't yet posted to SAP. I can see that this document is awaiting approval and it's with Andrew Fithian. So this is the next guy in the approval workflow. I can drill into all of this data. I've got the ability to view it by supplier, by particular group, get into the data, and I can manage any of those supplier queries really easily from this one screen. I can see the full status of all of the documents. I can see whether the ERP system's been updated or not. And just to close the loop, if I go back to SAP, remember that's what our relationship map looked like at the beginning. I'm just going to rerun the sync here. And what it's going to do is pull the invoice through. It's going to match the invoice to the 2 open GRPOs in SAP Business One. And it's going to do a little bit of magic in the background. So if I now refresh that order relationship map, you can see we've got purchase order, GRPO, AP invoice, and without doing anything other than pressing the submit button in iDocuments, the invoice is posted to SAP. We've actually attached the PDF document to the transaction in SAP Business One. That is a whistle-stop run through the purchasing and AP invoice processing side of iDocuments. As Carl alluded to earlier, we've also got the ability to process expenses, and we've got the ability to process sales orders in exactly the same way that that purchase invoice was processed without a purchase order. We can bring in purchase orders and read those purchase orders from your customers and create sales orders in SAP Business One from it. So that's it from the demonstration side of things. Is there any questions?
Hey, Duncan, I'm not seeing any questions, but I have one for you. Can you give us an example of a customer who sort of had a AP problem and deployed iDocuments and the benefit they received?
Yeah, we have a really, really strong case study with a company over here called Community Foods. They're in the health bar, dried fruits, health bars manufacturing business. They looked at iDocuments a good few years ago now. It's one of the first projects that we did with Vision 33. And their particular challenge was around being able to view all of the data in one place, being able to manage supplier queries quickly, being able to get invoices approved quickly, and getting supplier payments out the door within their stated terms. Their supply chain really did need payments made on time, and they wanted to reduce the time it took from receipt of an invoice to getting it paid. As a result, they put iDocuments in, and they will tell you, and I believe the figures are quoted in the case study, a 95% reduction in the cost of processing an AP invoice. It's staggering, absolutely staggering. And the challenges raised, Carl, or vary really from customers that have complex invoice approval requirements where there's lots of people involved in approving an invoice, through to just companies that have a sheer volume. There's a big retail company over here in the UK called Wren Kitchens. They're growing stateside. They will become a big supplier of kitchens in the States. But they process 45,000 AP invoices a month through iDocuments. So they vary from small but complex requirements right the way through to huge volumes. And the real key is that some of our clients have actually stopped using Business One for accounts payable and just do everything in iDocuments. The only thing you need to do in SAP is raise a payment.
Yeah, makes sense. So iDocuments is a cloud solution. Yep. So does the the ERP system, SAP Business One or others, does it have to be a cloud deployment, or can it be an on-premises ERP system?
No, we can connect to anything. We can out the box. We connect to SAP Business One, a number of Sage solutions, but it doesn't matter where it's hosted. It could be on-premise, it could be cloud, it could be private cloud, public cloud, wherever it happens to be. And we have all of those from one of our oldest customers in the UK, which is a foundry founded in 1643, I think. They've got a bit of history. They run all of their SAP infrastructure on a single server that sits in a cupboard in the finance director's office. And believe me, they don't even have internet access in the offices. They just have an internet line that runs into the server, which provides communication for most of their incoming email, and that's how we connect to their system, right the way through to entirely cloud-based infrastructure with very complex cloud as well. Different servers for SAP, different servers for SQL, different servers for iDocuments, etc. So we don't mind. We're agnostic.
That's good. That's good. So you mentioned, that one of the keys to, do I need a solution like iDocuments is just sheer volume, right? Is it burdensome? But are there other indicators that a company really ought to be taking a look at AP as a place to begin automation?
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to this. The pure AP automation side comes down to how long it's taking you to process an invoice from receipt of the document through to getting your supplier paid. What would the benefits be in doing that quicker? And again, to use a real case study, one of our clients wanted to get their suppliers paid quicker They're cash rich, they could afford to do it, but they went to their supplier base and said, if we pay you quicker, can we get an early settlement discount? And they cut about 1.5% of their total AP spend in non-stock related areas. Now, that's 1.5% to 1.5%. But when you're spending a couple of £1 million a year on non-stock related procurement and you cut 1.5% off of it, that's a real saving. So it's not just about volume, it's about the challenges you face in keeping your suppliers happy, and an early payment to a supplier or a rapid payment to a supplier, or at least getting the payment on time to the supplier will always keep them happier.
Yep. Makes sense to me. Well, thanks so much, Duncan. We appreciate your being here on Wednesday Web Chat. And as always, a really nice demo on iDocuments, easy to understand and easy to see the benefit. So we'll say farewell to everyone today, and we'll look forward to seeing all of you again on the next episode of Wednesday Web Chat.